The Blue Jackets won a game they probably should have lost and lost a game that they probably should have won. That's what I'm talking about on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster. Not with me is my co-host, Hayden Household. He will be back tomorrow, but I'm here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app, use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply, so see Sleeper's terms of use for details. So today we have to talk about the big win against Ottawa and the slightly disappointing loss against Boston. Blue Jackets going 1-1 on the weekend. Not terrible. They're still kind of languishing around the bottom of the NHL standings. I believe they have the third lowest point percentage in the league, which is not great. The only teams worse than them, San Jose and Chicago. In terms of points, they are 6 points out of the second wildcard spot, but they are above Ottawa in the standings right now, and they are 3 points behind the New Jersey Devils, who are above them in the Metropolitan Division. So they're on the up. 18-14-4 is not a great record, but like I said, they're on the up. And I've been honestly pretty impressed with what I've seen this weekend. I know I said in the little opener, the cold open, that they probably didn't deserve to win the Sens game, and I kind of still stand by that. I think Elvis was excellent and Korpisalo was not excellent, and they were really the difference makers in that game. And I stand by that. I think they should have won the Boston game, but again, excellent goaltending from Jeremy Swayman, who the Bruins have two legitimately excellent goalies right now, and that feels unfair, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to talk about the Sens game first. The Blue Jackets were outshot 43-23, and somehow won the game 4-2, which is what I mean when I say that Elvis was excellent and Corpy was not. Really nice to see Korpisalo back in Columbus, and I was really pulling for him to have a good game, just not as good of a game as us. Elvis made 41 of 43 saves, including 15 out of 16 on the power play, which that's too many power play shots. I know the Blue Jackets took a ton of penalties, but that's too many power play shots. So 16 shots in 5 power plays is what, an average of just over 3 shots a power play. Too many. We'll talk about the power play in a minute. But Jonas Korpisalo, on the other hand, only made 19 of 23 saves. So it was a real case of the Blue Jackets got lucky, the Senators got unlucky. The Blue Jackets went down 2-0 as well. And this is why kind of the big positive from this game for me is the Blue Jackets went down 2-0. I think literally like 10 minutes into the game. Yeah, at 11:08, Brady Tkachuk scores the second goal for the Sens, a power play goal, to make it 2-0. And the Blue Jackets could have crumbled at that point. And I think the Blue Jackets of years past, honestly, the Blue Jackets of like a month ago would have crumbled, and they didn't. They got a goal from Patrick Laine a few minutes later. Dmitry Voronkov scores his 5th. Adam Fantilli scores his 5th. And then Boone Jenner finishes it off with a power play goal. Just scoring from almost every line there. Great goal from Voronkov. Even better goal from Fantilli. That might be my goal of the game, honestly. The one-handed deflection. He was great. The power play went 2 for 2, which genuinely shocking to me and also to many people, I think. So I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to say too much about how surprised I am because it might scare them into never doing it again. But great nights from literally every line. Every line was great offense. Okay, maybe not great offensively because they did get outshot by literally 20 shots. But getting goals from Fantilli, from Voronkov, a goal from Laine was really great to see. He's kind of still working his way back. I thought he looked okay against the game previous to the Senators, the Montreal game. I thought he looked only okay. I thought he looked much better against the Senators, and I thought he looked pretty good against the Bruins last night. He's still giving the puck away a lot, but he looks like he's maybe kind of figuring things out. Same thing for Gaudreau, actually. Johnny Gaudreau had 2 assists against the Senators. He looks like he is on his way back up, which is really, really great to see because this team needs Johnny Gaudreau to be producing. I think he's got 5 points in his previous to last night anyway. He had 5 points in his most recent 5 games. So definitely a good sign. Would love him to hit the net a little bit more and, beat the goalie a little bit more. But as of right now, I'm cautiously happy with how Johnny Gaudreau is doing. The lineup decisions are still kind of confusing to me, although I do like the Russian line, the Voronkov, Marchenko, Chinikov line. I think that's been a lot of fun. It's getting less than 10 minutes a game. In fairness, that is because power play penalty kill was fully 1/6 of the game against the Senators. So, guys that don't kill penalties, Marchenko, Kent Johnson, Adam Fantilli doesn't kill a lot of penalties. Those guys didn't get a lot of ice time. Meanwhile, just a Danforth got 20 minutes. Sean Crowley got 16 and a half. Because those guys kill a lot of penalties. Boone Jenner, 23-24. That's too high. That's a little bit stressful. But great to see, honestly. The Blue Jackets are kind of missing Cole Sillinger on the penalty kill, I think. He's out, I think, day to day with an upper body injury, so hopefully see him back soon. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how that game went. Would I have liked if they had managed to, have a bit more of a convincing win as opposed to, well, Elvis stood on his head and that's why they won? Sure, but I've said it on this podcast before. I'm going to say it again. Goaltending is like the least of my worries right now, and that's really, really great to see. Elvis on the season after that performance has bumped his stats up. He's at a 911 save percentage on the season, which is just so much better than last season. Excuse me. He's had an above 900 save percentage for the last 5 games in a row. Had a not great game against Washington, allowed 4 goals on 26 shots, but then the 3 games before that were also above 900. So that's 8 of the last 9 games he's had a save percentage above 900. So I'm gonna say it. I think Elvis is back, and I think that's something that this team desperately needs. They've had good goaltending from Spencer Martin as well. It's unfair not to give him his flowers. I thought he was good against Boston, but not great. And we'll talk about the Boston game in a minute, but just to kind of wrap up my thoughts against the Senators, it felt a little bit like a get-right game. The Blue Jackets were not great, but they held on. They got the win anyway. And again, I feel like the Blue Jackets of years past, you see that game and you're like, oh, they lose this game 5-1, or they lose this game, 4-0 or 3-0 or whatever it is. They didn't. They took advantage of a goalie that's kind of struggling with inconsistency at the minute. Maybe a goalie that a lot of them are very familiar with, having played with him for many years. But hey, that's how it goes sometimes. And I'm at the point in the season where I know it's literally December 4th and there's, 4 more months of hockey left, near enough. I'm not going to say too much about this win because I'm just happy that they got the win. On the flip side, I have a lot to say about the Boston game, which right up until the last like 10 minutes was, again, it was another example of the Blue Jackets doing a really great job for the first 50 minutes of a game, and then the last 10 minutes they kind of get tired. I don't know, but we'll talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, though, I've got to tell you guys about Sleeper, because a new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. A player on the Blue Jackets could score 50 goals. I'm not sure who. Maybe Boone Jenner's going to score 50 goals. Who can say? They could hoist the Stanley Cup. It seems unlikely, but hey, they could do it. And you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. They're our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your money in daily fantasy hockey contests. The app is great. It's super easy to use. They've got NFL, NBA, MLBs, college football, all on Sleeper, and especially hockey. Entries can be made in under a minute, and all you have to do is pick whether guys like McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, Boone Jenner, who is second in the league in even strength goals right now, which is very funny, whether they're going to record more or less than the Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times your money, all you have to do is correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me right, Blue Jackets fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper, so start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Before we jump into the second segment where we talk about the Bruins, I want to let you guys know that we launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube recently. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On. Plus, we've got our national shows covering every league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And you might see Locked On Blue Jackets there at some point. So go check that out. Let's talk about the Bruins game, because, yeah, it was a disappointment, I think, to be heading into the third. I mean, again, how many times have we seen this? The Blue Jackets head into the third period with a lead, and they lose the game in regulation. Blue Jackets were up 1-0 after Boone Jenner scored with, I think, like 30 seconds left in the second period. Just an extremely Boone Jenner goal. He continues to impress. Boone Jenner, 30-goal scorer, is still well on the way, and you love to see it. But Brad Marchand ties the game 2 minutes into the third period, and then has 2 power play goals, 5.5 minutes, and then just under 8 minutes into the third period. So I don't know, man. They play 50 minutes of great hockey, and then it's not even 10 minutes. He scored a hat trick in the space of 6 minutes, just under 6 minutes. 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Like, what? It's so frustrating. It's so annoying. I mean, credit to Brad Marchand. He's having a great season. Just became the captain of the Bruins this season. But the Blue Jackets kind of didn't help themselves here. Again, I thought Jeremy Swayman was very good. 1 goal on 25 shots. Spencer Martin was fine, but not excellent. He had, let me check, he had 25 saves, I believe. Yeah, 25 of 28 saves, so an .893 save percentage, which is not the numbers that I've come to expect from Spencer Martin in this last little while. But hey, he can't be great every single game. Sometimes these are the games that you need to be able to win to be a contender. And I think it's been really interesting that maybe the Blue Jackets' two best efforts of the past kind of couple of weeks have come against the Bruins, who are the best team in the league right now. I believe they are still at the top of the standings, if I can double check. They've got 37 points, so they have like truly almost double the amount of points that the Blue Jackets have. They're currently second in the NHL. They're tied with New York for points, but have played 1 more game. So one of the best teams in the NHL We'll say that. And the Blue Jackets have been good against them. Like that game against Boston was amazing. It was incredible. That was their best game of the season by far. This game was good. It was frustrating. I think the officiating didn't help. I think there was some questionable calls at best against both sides. I think this is not, oh, we lost the game because the refs kept giving us stupid penalties. I think the officiating was poor on both sides. I think both teams got away with stuff, and I think both teams got called for stuff that shouldn't have been penalties. The most egregious one to me was that Dmitry Voronkov quote-unquote tripping penalty. But hey, the refs, it's a hard job. They do what they can. Sometimes you've got to win the game anyway. But the Blue Jackets held it together for 45 minutes of the game. And then, honestly, that third period, they outshot the Bruins in that third period, I think, probably trying to tie the game up after Marchand scored the second goal. If you're going to lose, you might as well lose to a hat trick, But I don't think the Blue Jackets deserve to lose this. The power play continues to frustrate. After I just said how good the power play was against Ottawa, Blue Jackets go 0 for 4 on the power play. Admittedly, the penalty kill for the Bruins is one of the best in the league. I'm not sure where it stands right now. The Blue Jackets were just above them in the penalty kill, but then allowed 2 of 6 on the penalty kill in last night's game. So they've dropped down to 4. They're at 86.8%. The Bruins have the second best kill in the league right now at 89 even after killing all 4 of the Blue Jackets penalties off last night. The power play continues to be dire, and I don't understand how there are 5 teams in the league that have a worse power play than the Blue Jackets, because I think last night was, the power play is never really great consistently, but last night there was I can't remember which power play it was. I don't believe, well, they didn't allow a shorthanded goal, which, small victories, I might be a little bit triggered by shorthanded goals because my team here in England had a time with shorthanded goals this weekend, but no shorthanded goals from the Blue Jackets. But the power play was miserable. Let me see how many saves. They had 4 power plays and 4 shots. So an average of 1 shot per power play is not good enough, frankly, especially if when you allow 16 shots on 5 power plays against the Senators. And in fairness to Spencer Martin, in fairness to the Blue Jackets against Boston, in 6 power plays they allowed 8 shots. 2 of those power plays were abbreviated in fairness, but how are you going to get, I don't know, you're not going to score power play goals by shooting once per power play, and it's frustrating because it feels like they can't even get into the zone. They get about 6 feet into the zone, someone turns the puck over, team clears it, they go all the way back to the other end of the ice, start up again, and then just try the exact same break-in technique. And it didn't work the first time. Why would it work the second time? And it makes me feel like I'm being punked. It genuinely makes me feel like I'm on the Truman Show or something, and someone is recording to watch my reaction to specifically the Blue Jackets power plays, and I hate that. But special teams didn't help them. If you're not going to score a power play goal and you're going to allow 2 power play goals of your own, you're not going to win that game, which is really frustrating because I thought Spencer Martin was great in the first 2 periods and then got let down in the third period a little bit, kind of by himself, kind of by the rest of the team, by not being able to kill penalties. Boston's power play is strong, but not that strong. They're 10th in the league right now after those 2 goals at 22.8%. They're better than the Blue Jackets, who are sitting at 12.7%, but could be worse. They could be the Washington Capitals, who are sitting at 8.3%. on the power play, and that that makes even less sense than the Blue Jackets power play being bad, because at this point I kind of expect the Blue Jackets power play to be bad, and when it's good, it's like, oh, this is a really pleasant surprise. So overall, to kind of wrap my thoughts up, frustrating game, but I'm not too disheartened by it because I thought there was a lot of good signs in there. I think that Russian line, again, continues to be impressive, continues to be a menace. Boone Jenner continues to have a heck of a season. The defense is improving. I still some defensemen are improving, some defensemen are kind of progressing to the mean, but it is what it is. What I'm frustrated by is David Jiricek and his ice time going down and down and down. Admittedly, he took 2 penalties in the game last night, so I'm not surprised. He didn't get a ton of ice time, but if you're only going to play him for 10, like it was the same thing in the Senators game, he only played about 12 minutes. If he's only going to play that much, like send him to the AHL. Play someone else, because he's not going to learn anything and he's not going to do anything playing that infrequently, and it's just so annoying. Especially if Zach Werenski is playing 30 minutes, like you gotta have faith in your lower defenseman or your bottom pairing defenseman if you want to get anything from this team, because you can guarantee Zach Werenski playing 30 minutes a night, you're not getting the best Zach Werenski you can get. And I don't like, this doesn't feel like a hard concept to grasp to me. I know everyone's and you know, this comes up a lot. You're not going to get your best defenseman if you have to play them a million minutes. Think about how good some of these defensemen that play, you know, 25, 30 minutes a night could be if they only had to play 20 minutes a night and could, you know, conserve energy and didn't have to, you know, they could sprint instead of run a marathon, essentially, or run less of a marathon, I guess. I want to talk a little bit more about the defense and kind of the weekend is in a whole in a minute here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, though, I need to tell you guys about Indeed, because when I'm drafting my fantasy team, sometimes I wish that I could do the same thing with my business team. If you're going to build a roster to win the league, you need Indeed. It's the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. You don't need to spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills. You can do it all with Indeed. They've got a bunch of super great special hiring tools, Indeed Instant Match, assessments. They've got virtual interviews. So you can literally do everything on that one site. If you hate waiting, Indeed's US data shows that over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. I haven't had to job hunt for a little bit here, but when I did, I used Indeed. It was the only job site that I used because it was the one that I liked the best. I think it's the easiest to use, and it got me really, really great results, as evidenced by the fact that I am no longer job hunting. So join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. They know when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count, and that's why with Indeed, you only pay quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/locked-on to start hiring now. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Okay, let's wrap it up here on Locked On Blue Jackets. It's a very dreary Monday morning outside, and I'm tired of the cold weather. So let's wrap up these thoughts on the game, and then I can go back to being in a pile of blankets and hot water bottles. No, maybe I'll edit that out. Let's talk about the weekend as a whole, because there are some guys who had good weekends, and there are some guys that had not so good weekends. I want to point out Adam Fantilli as a guy who specifically had a really great weekend. Had a goal against Ottawa, didn't get on the score sheet against Boston, but had 5 shots, which was the most of any Blue Jacket and potentially the most of any player, actually. Brad Marchand tied him at 4. Charlie McAvoy had 5, but yeah, Adam Fantilli leading the way. I want to shout out the Russian line as well. I kind of did that a little bit earlier, but I think it's not lost on me that you get the best version of Dmitry Voronkov when he has someone on his line that he can talk to. And I think that was not the whole issue, but one of the issues with that Voronkov Fantilli Laine line is I don't think Patrick Laine was obviously struggling and is still struggling a little bit. I don't think you were getting the best version of Voronkov, and you're not giving Adam Fantilli the things he needs to succeed if his line mates aren't playing to the best of their abilities. And like, should he be able to rise above that? Probably yes, but he's 19 years old. He's a rookie. He's going to be playing in this league for a long time. Hopefully, he's going to be playing for Columbus for a long time. And I don't know why you're not doing everything to put him in the best position to succeed. Like the Johnson, Jenner, Gaudreau line is fine. It's not mind blowing, but I wonder if you swap Fantilli for Jenner on that line, and then Jenner, Laine, Danforth. Justin Danforth is also continuing to really impress me. He is one of those guys that is never going to be the best player on a line, but he lifts everyone else up because he skates like heck. He's not afraid of anything, and he's just one of those players that gets results. He was a +1, and plus minus means basically nothing, but he was a +1 against the Bruins, despite the Blue Jackets only scoring 1 goal. So good for him on that, and he did that in only 14 minutes of ice time. The coaching staff clearly really likes him. I don't know that he should be in the top 6, but as of right now, I'm not unhappy with how the lines have been for the last couple of games. There are things, like I said, I would change up. I think I would swap Fantilli and Jenner, despite the fact that Jenner and Gaudreau, I think, work really well together. But hey, it could be worse. The Blue Jackets have an interesting few games coming up now. They play the Kings, who are doing quite well at the minute. They just beat the Avalanche, who again are kind of the team to beat in the West, I think. Kings are 3rd in the Pacific. They've got 31 points, 14-4-3, and have yet to lose. They're the only team, I believe, that hasn't lost a game on the road yet. They're 9-0-0, which is impressive and also worrying. And I don't know that the Blue Jackets are capable of doing that, of breaking that streak, because the Blue Jackets don't like breaking streaks unless it's their own. So that's on Tuesday, I believe. The Kings are in town, and then Thursday they play the New York Islanders, and obviously last time they got shut out by them. And then on Friday they are playing the St. Louis Blues. So we'll see how that goes. The Islanders have kind of fallen off a little bit. They're currently, they're 4th in the Metro, so they're doing okay. The Metro is a really weird division this year. I thought it was going to be like the Thunderdome, and apparently everyone has decided to struggle at the same time, apart from the Rangers. So that's genuinely surprising to me. The Blues, 5th in their division. They got 25 points. So like all 3 of those teams are above the Blue Jackets. I don't know that the Islanders or the Blues pose any kind of real threat. Very willing to eat my words on that, but I would expect kind of for this week, playing those 3 games, I would expect at least 4 points from these 3 games. So we'll see if they do that. Hayden will be back tomorrow. We will break down the game against the Kings, or preview the game against the Kings, excuse me, see what's going on in LA. We'll be welcoming, of course, old friend Pierre-Luc Dubois back to Columbus, so I'm sure fans will not give him a hard time at all. I'm sure of it. But that's tomorrow on Locked On Blue Jackets. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day, even if it is almost noon over there. We are free and available on all podcast platforms. So if you want to become an everydayer, follow us on wherever you get your podcasts from. Follow us on YouTube. We're also on SiriusXM if you're a radio app person. Thank you for listening. Again, you can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JACOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter. If you want to email us, you can do so at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.